love it. It doesn't have the busyness of Christmas. It's just a gathering together of food and family and friends. But food, no, actually, cooking food for one another is such a loving act. It is just, and this time of year, there's so many wonderful things in the harvest to be able to cook, like squashes. They're so rich and orange, and pumpkins and all these things. So I am delighted to be able to speak today, and I have been waiting for several years for the opportunity to share with you today what we're going to be doing for our meditation. And those of you who read Braiding Sweetgrass may remember this, but there is an absolutely amazingly wonderful Thanksgiving address in this book. So that's what we're going to be doing for our meditation. You can look forward to that. But in the meantime, our theme for the month of November is reflecting on the blessings of release. And, you know, anytime I've released something, it's always made me feel lighter. And I think that generally speaking, the blessings of release are that they allow us to be more of the loving light that we really are, and to be able to express that in what we do every day. We've had a couple people speak on this already this month. Cheryl reminded us that everything that we do comes from either love or fear. And then when we choose to release fear, then love is the default that is there waiting for us when we release our fear. And Evie reminded us of the fact that when we do that, it's awfully easy a little bit later for the old stuff to creep back in again, because we need to put something else in its place to fend it off and keep it from seeping back in. So what I'd like to share with you today is a really brief tour through Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection. The online reading group is going through this right now. And it is just amazing how, you know, the synchronicity of the universe works. Synchronicity. This book is all about releasing. It's all about releasing, and it has 10 guideposts of things to release. And then, of course, she doesn't just stop there. She goes on to give you what you should put in their place instead. So I wanted to take you through a quick tour of this book. Brene Brown is a social scientist, and she wrote this book based on 10,000 stories that she collected from people. And about 1,000 of them she did extensive interviews with. And so this book is a set of things that has been tested out there in the world and has come back and said, this is what works for people to be able to live their lives as wholehearted people. Those were the folks that she went after to say, how do you do this? What is it that you have done in your lives that's enabled you to live such a wholehearted life? And these are the 10 things that she came up with. I'm doing them in a different order, because different ones of them hit me more strongly than others, and I'm saving the best till last. So I may go a little bit lightly over some of the first ones, but there's more coming in the end here. So the first one she suggests, and I think this one is the foundation for everything, as she says when she's describing it. We need to let go of worrying about what people think of us. And instead, we need to choose authenticity. Now, that's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that is so rewarding. And this is what she has to say about authenticity. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Choosing authenticity means cultivating the courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. It means exercising the compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle. And finally, nurturing the connection and sense of belonging that can only happen when we believe that we are enough. That idea of belonging is one that she mentions at the as what it is that these folks that she interviewed have so strongly. They have a very strong sense of belonging and a very strong sense of love. Their sense of love, she describes this way: we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known, and when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering of trust, respect, kindness, and affection. And belonging, she defines, is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Because this yearning is so primal, we often try to acquire it by fitting in and by seeking approval, which are not only hollow substitutes for belonging, but they often are barriers to it. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. You know, when we first started reading this book, it was that section on belonging that actually hit me right between the eyes. It was so hard to keep up a sense of belonging during COVID because we weren't making those connections. And now that COVID seems to have well, I wouldn't say it's quite in the back rearview mirror yet, but it's a little less prevalent than it was. You know, it took me a long time to realize that I hadn't let myself come back to doing things that created that sense of belonging. I was still kind of in that mode of, oh, don't leave the house, don't go anywhere, you shouldn't do this, etc. So that was the first part of this book that just set me off on a path of saying, oh my gosh, as many of us who are reading this book will say, she's got our number. She really does. So let's go on to the next one that she suggests. She says we need to let go of being cool. Stop worrying about what people think. Everyone's watching. Oh, you look ridiculous. Get a hold of yourself. You know, I have a really sad story to throw in about this one, a really sad story. I have a very close friend who is always been very formal and very proper. And one time, he was cleaning up after an event and there were balloons all over the floor because it had been an event that had balloon stuff all over. And he walked into this room and thought, oh my gosh, look at this. So he started running around, kicking the balloons up, you know, and just kind of watching them. And one of his staff people came in and saw him doing that. And he has never let himself loose again. So this is the kind of thing she's talking about. We need to let go of being cool, let go of being worried about being ridiculous, and instead cultivate laughter, song, and dance. Now, she defines laughter as knowing laughter. Knowing laughter is that kind of laughter where we're laughing with people because, oh yeah, that's happened to me. I know exactly what you're talking about. That kind of laughing, not the kind where you're laughing at people. And laughter and music and dance create emotional and spiritual connections with each other so that we're bonding with each other when we do those things. So her third point is we need to let go of self-doubt and supposed to. You are supposed to care about making money. You're supposed to hate your work. You're supposed to choose, because you can't have both. Either you do the work you love or you support your family. Oh, okay. Those kinds of things that are self-doubt and supposed to's get in our way, and they're fear-based. And so she suggests instead we need to cultivate meaningful work. She uses a quote from Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because the world, what it needs is people who have come alive. Her fourth suggestion of what we should release and let go of is letting go of an anxiety and stress as a lifestyle, which is really hard in this culture because everything we see is generated to make us feel anxious. All the news, all the advertisements are all based on, okay, you need to feel anxious until you take care of or get this product or whatever. So it's very hard to let go of this, but she recommends that we try very hard to let go of this anxiety and stress lifestyle and instead cultivate calm and practice stillness. Now, those of us here in Unity, we have already got this one down. Stillness, of course, is meditation. So this is not new to us. We know that meditation is a great way to cultivate stillness. And calmness, she suggests, can be cultivated by being mindful, by pausing before we respond to anything that's going on. Her fifth one is to let go of numbing and powerlessness. Numbing and powerlessness. Well, what is numbing? Numbing is when we don't give ourselves the time and the space to deal with our difficult emotions. And there are lots and lots of ways of numbing, lots of ways that I hadn't really thought about. I'll just read off the list that she puts in here. So, alcohol, drugs, sex, relationships, money, work, caretaking, gambling, staying busy, chaos, shopping, planning, perfectionism, I'll get back to that later, constant change, the internet, TV watching. All these things can distract ourselves and numb ourselves so that we're not actually giving ourselves the time and space we need to deal with difficult emotions. And she has an interesting comment on powerlessness. She calls powerlessness as the inability to deal with disappointment. The inability to deal with disappointment. And she talks about a lot of teachers in schools these days are observing that their students are really geared for instant gratification. And if they don't have the instant gratification, they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with that disappointment. So, what can we do instead? Spirituality is the answer. Yay! And mind you, folks, this came from interviews with 1,000 people out there. This is not Unity folks. This is other folks saying, yes, spirituality is the answer. Let me tell you what she says about that here. She says, spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all, oh, here comes one of those words, inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Practicing spirituality brings a sense of perspective, meaning, and purpose to our lives. So, number 6, let go of thinking that your self-worth is dependent upon productivity and exhaustion. Now, I can tell you right now that that was absolutely true for me when I was working. If I wasn't at the office at least an hour or two later than when everybody else left, I was not earning my way. And of course, when you get home from that kind of a day, you haven't got anything left to do anything else. I mean, this culture so much ties our self-worth to productivity that there's no time for anything else. There's no time to play around. Life is supposed to be serious business. We have to keep our shoulders to the wheel. And we drive ourselves to exhaustion in the process. So here's one of these quotes out of this book. She's got a couple of them that are the opposite of this is that just hit me. Wow. Okay, here's the first one. You ready? The opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. Because if you are not balancing out what you're doing by having the opportunity to do play and whatnot, you are on a road to just get deeper and deeper and deeper without any light in your life. The other thing that we need to cultivate is sleep. I don't know how many of you are subscribers. I know this is going to show my age. I'm trying to hide it, but I do subscribe to AARP. They have a number of interesting articles lately about the impact of sleep on aging, because it's when you sleep that your brain clears out all that stuff that builds up and causes Alzheimer's. So that's just one good reason why we need sleep, but it's a good reason to sleep for a lot of other reasons as well. So she recommends that if we let go of thinking that our self-worth is dependent upon productivity and exhaustion, that we need to cultivate play and sleep. Now, I am also not good at playing. So I've got a lot of work to do on this one. Number 7, letting go of perfectionism. Yes, indeed. So what is perfectionism? Let's take a look here. Perfectionism is not the same thing as striving to be your best. And perfectionism is not about healthy achievement and growth. Perfectionism is the belief that if we live perfect, look perfect, and act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. So perfectionism is causing us trouble. It's not helping us with what we need. What she suggests we do instead is that we cultivate self-compassion, which is made of 3 components: self-kindness, of being gentle with ourselves; common humanity, of recognizing that we all have struggles, we all make mistakes; and finally, mindfulness in recognizing what our emotions are and working with them without letting them overwhelm us. Her 8th one is letting go of comparison. Comparison is all about, actually, conformity and competition. Either we're trying to fit in or we're trying to be the best. And of course, we'll never be the best because there's always somebody better than us. So these 2 things work in conjunction with each other to always make us feel like we're not quite where we need to be. We're always afraid. So what she says instead is to cultivate creativity. Creativity. Everyone is creative. Everyone has unique gifts, and everyone should engage in some form of art to help bring that part of themselves out. Okay, so here's the 2 heavy ones, number 9 and number 10. 9, this one was amazing, I think to a number of us in the book group. Let go of the need for certainty. Oh my gosh, can we do that? Can we let go of the need for certainty? We have a deep need to be certain about things, but it's not always possible to be certain about things. But, some people cope with the fact that the world is really an uncertain place. They cope with it by believing in rules. Everything is either black or white, right or wrong. In fact, there are some religious groups that operate this way, and they have followers who join these groups because they can't tolerate uncertainty. They want to have the answer to everything. So here's one of these opposite statements, okay? Ready? The opposite of faith is certainty. Now think about that. The opposite of faith is certainty. If you are certain about what it is that's going to happen, you don't need faith. So the opposite of faith is certainty. So she suggests we cultivate faith. Give up on thinking we have to be certain about things and instead cultivate faith. Faith is a place of mystery where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. Now, that was one that kind of caused a lot of pause. And finally, the last one. Let go of your belief in scarcity and fear of the dark. And I need to read to you about this one because that's the best way to explain what she's talking about here. One of the hallmarks of wholehearted people is that they're able to be joyful easily. She says, but joy and gratitude can be very vulnerable and intense experiences. We are anxious people, and many of us have very little tolerance for vulnerability. Our anxiety and fear can manifest as scarcity. We think to ourselves, I'm not going to allow myself to feel this joy because I know it won't last. Acknowledging how grateful I am is an invitation for disaster. I'd rather not be joyful than to have to wait for the other shoe to drop. all ways in which we sabotage our ability to be able to truly feel joy. Another aspect of fear scarcity, and this one again just hit me right between the eyes. For me and for many of us, our first waking thought of the day is, oh, I didn't get enough sleep. And the next one is, I don't have enough time. Whether true or not, that thought of not enough occurs to us automatically before we even begin to question it. We spend most of the hours of our days hearing, explaining, complaining, or worrying about what we don't have enough of. We don't have enough exercise, we don't have enough work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Before we even sit up in bed, before our feet even touch the floor, we're already inadequate. Don't we do that to ourselves? Man, absolutely. Well, her solution to that is why we're here today. Her solution to that is gratitude, because gratitude is the foundation of joy. Cultivate gratitude and joy. And as she says, it's not enough just to have the attitude of gratitude. You have to actually practice gratitude. So she suggests doing things like keeping a gratitude journal, meditating on the things we're grateful for, doing prayers for what we're grateful for. And if at any moment during the day we feel ourselves slipping back into one of these 10 things we're trying to release, or any of the other things we're trying to release, she suggests just take a break, take a gratitude break. Stop yourself and say, I am thankful for, and name something you're thankful for. And that interrupts the whole pattern and puts you on a track of getting back into love, back into gratitude. Well, I'd like to then close off here with a very lengthy meditation. So I want you all to get very comfortable, very, very comfortable. And this is the one again from Braiding Sweetgrass. This is the Thanksgiving address that the Onondaga Nation uses in its schools every morning. Every morning they start their day with one of the classes of the children in the school reading this address. And then at key moments, as you'll hear, the whole rest of the group in the room, all the other students and teachers, respond at the end of each of these sets of phrases with a response phrase. Now, the one that they are using here is, now our minds are one. But this is a translation from the original. This translation, by the way, was done by John Stokes and Kana Wahientun in 1993. So I'm going to take the liberty of changing that response just slightly. And our response is going to be, now we are one. Okay, so I will start to read it. And you'll hear when I say, now we are one, I invite you all to repeat back to me, now we are one, when that comes around. And we'll start with our eyes open, because you'll see the first beginning part needs us to have our eyes open. After that, you can either open your eyes or close them, whichever you prefer. Today, we have gathered, and when we look upon the faces around us, we see that the cycle of life continues. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now let us bring our minds together as one, as we give greeting and thanks to each other as people. Now we are one. We are thankful to our Mother Earth, for she gives us everything that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she still continues to care for us, just as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send thanksgiving, love, and respect. Now we are one. We give thanks to all of the waters of the world for quenching our thirst, for providing strength and nurturing life for all beings. We know its power in many forms: waterfalls and rain, mists and streams, rivers and oceans, snow and ice. We are grateful that the waters are still here and meeting their responsibility to the rest of creation. We agree that water is important to our lives, and we send our greetings and thanks to the water. Now we are one. We turn our thoughts to all of the fish life in the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water. They also give themselves to us as food. We are grateful that they continue to do their duties, and we send to the fish our greeting and our thanks. Now we are one. Now we turn toward the vast fields of plant life. As far as the eye can see, the plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Now we are one. With one mind, we honor and thank all the food plants that we harvest from the garden, especially the three sisters who feed the people with such abundance. Since the beginning of time, the grains, vegetables, beans, and fruit have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them as well. We gather together in our minds all the plant foods and send them a greeting and thanks. Now we are one. Standing around us, we see all the trees. The earth has many families of trees who each have their own instructions and uses. Some provide shelter and shade, others fruit and beauty and many useful gifts. Many people of the world recognize a tree as a symbol of peace and strength. With one mind, we greet and thank the tree life. Now we are one. We gather our minds together to send our greetings and thanks to all the beautiful animal life of the world who walk about with us. They have many things to teach us as people. We are grateful that they continue to share their lives with us and hope that it will always be so. Let us put our minds together as one and send our thanks to the animals. Now we are one. We put our minds together as one and thank all the birds who move and fly about over our heads. The Creator gave them the gift of beautiful songs. Each morning they greet the day, and with their songs remind us to enjoy and appreciate life. To all the birds, from the smallest to the largest, we send our joyful greetings and thanks. Now we are one. We are thankful for the powers we know as the four winds. We hear their voices in the moving air as they refresh us and purify the air we breathe. They help to bring the change of seasons. From the four directions they come, bringing us messages and giving us strength. With one mind, we send our greetings and thanks to the four winds. Now we are one. We now send greetings and thanks to our eldest brother, the sun. Every day, without fail, he travels the sky from east to west, bringing the light of a new day. He is the source of all the fires of life. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to our brother, the sun. Now we are one. We put our minds together and give thanks to our oldest grandmother, the moon, who lights the nighttime sky. She is the leader of women all over the world and governs the movement of the ocean tides. By her changing face, we measure time, and it is the moon who watches over the arrival of children here on earth. Let us gather our thanks for Grandmother Moon together in a pile, layer upon layer of gratitude, and then joyfully fling that pile of thanks high into the night sky that she will know. We send greetings and thanks to Grandmother the Moon. We give our thanks to the stars who spread across the sky like jewelry. We see them at night, helping the moon to light the darkness and bringing dew to the gardens and growing things. When we travel at night, they guide us home. With our minds gathered as one, we send greetings and thanks to all the stars. Now we are one. We gather our minds to greet and thank the enlightened teachers who have come to help throughout the ages. When we forget how to live in harmony, they remind us of the way we were instructed to live as people. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to these caring teachers. Now we are one. We now turn our thanks to the Creator, or Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all of the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greeting and thanks to the Creator. Now we are one. We now have arrived at the place where we end our words. Of all the things we have named, it is not our intention to leave anything out. If something was forgotten, we leave it to each individual to send such greeting and thanks on their own. And now we are one. Thank you all for helping with this blessing. And now we can say our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one. Thank you. Okay.